As AI advances rapidly, we're making discoveries that could significantly change what it means to be human, leading us to question if aliens followed a similar path of technological evolution. Looking ahead to the next 1,000 years or so, with the incredible progress in cybernetic technologies and AI, we might not even be able to recognize future humans as human beings. And this raises a fascinating and rather unsettling question. Is humanity using technology and AI in a way that could ultimately lead us to become inhuman, extinct, or godlike? Hello, and welcome to this episode of Mysteries with a History, where you'll be taken on a wild ride into the unknown, the strange, and the mysterious. Like you, I have questions, and like you, I want answers. And with each episode together, we will peel away the layers to look for the truth. Let me bring in my co-host, Jimmy Church of Faded Black Radio. Jimmy, happy Thursday. Every time.
You're getting really good at that. How is everybody? Happy Thursday. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty snazzy. My eyeballs did not like contacts today, so it's going to be.
You got the librarian thing going on. You got I'm smart and you're not. Look.
Okay, no.
That's exactly.
Well, the librarian, I'm fully for it.
You know how I say it. We have the facts. The facts are you're wearing glasses and you've got the intelligent theme going on, and then we have the truth behind it. So there you go. This is going to be a fun show today. But where normally I can kind of see the ebb and flow of where things are headed with you and what's going on. This just came out of nowhere. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we're all interested in the subject, and especially when we're talking about the future and what it holds, and have we been there, and time travel and everything. We all wonder about the subject. It's a wonderful thing to talk about. But what's going on in your world that you wanted to have this conversation today?
Because for me, I research AI daily, like Stable Diffusion, ChatGPT, and Neuralink, and those different things I'm looking at on a daily basis, and I always cover AI when it comes to strangest news of the week. Now, when we begin to couple it with the UFO phenomenon, there is this big question on if aliens, extraterrestrials, interdimensionals, whatever, have been using AI to benefit their travels, to benefit them getting from point A to point B, because that would only seem plausible. And the way that AI is evolving right in front of our eyes, we could be on that same trajectory.
Trajectory. Yeah, that's a tough word. It's a tough word.
Don't overestimate me, Jimmy, because it's just going to go downhill from there. But you see where I want to go with this. And when we consider those things, I think it would make a really great and interesting conversation to have today with you.
Okay. Let's get a foundation. You've got your ideas and thoughts in front of you. Let me say this. These ideas have really started to bubble to the surface over the last year, for sure. And they really started to take hold probably between 5 and 10 years ago with Jim Penniston. And when Jim Penniston did the reveal of the code that he had written down in his book, which is binary code, and he writes this down, and he had, seen some symbols on the craft in Rendlesham Forest, and then received a download. There's Jim right there. Perfect. And he received a download. And so he revealed, now he had some regression therapy done. There was stuff that he remembered as well. So there's that part of it. But he revealed that the craft And those that brought it and flew it to Rendlesham Forest were not extraterrestrial in the ET sense, a separate race from humans off planet. He said that they were us, that they told him that they were us from the future. Now you combine that, and it's now this concept has been sort of discussed, but never really in depth before Jim. So Jim does this, and it caused a very serious thought experiment to just like wildfire throughout the UFO community and researchers to contemplate that because of what has been presented in the past about time travel and time traveling to the future. And Einstein presented it very elegantly. So now is it time travelers? Is it us in the future? And if it is us, what are they doing here now? And could that answer so much about sightings and contact? That's it's such an interesting idea. Now, I don't think it answers like it is everything ET or that AI is everything ET. I'm not suggesting that at all because there's just way too much stuff going on out there, and a lot of these different ET races and cultures may not even know of each other, right? And they're visiting this planet, but the Rendlesham Force thing caused the conversation to seriously get traction. And I have to back up and say that is a very real possibility. And AI coming into its own here right now on Earth in real time, and we're watching that happen. That any extraterrestrial race out there, and certainly us from the future, have already gone through the growing pains that we are going through right now with AI, and how you would couple that with your travel, with your space. Just today, Cristina, there's a press release that came out. I want to thank Renee Newman for this. That 27,000 new asteroids have been discovered in the last 5 weeks with AI. And that's an application of AI that's really, really cool, right? And so they wrote a custom algorithm. They went back and looked at all of the images, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of images that would take humans forever, right, to go and analyze. Obviously, we analyzed them in the past and missed these asteroids. And that's an application of that. So ET or us from the future would have already gone through and embraced, and like I said, gone through the growing pains of AI and would understand how to take advantage of it.
Now, when we're dealing with humans from the future, it does have issues with it. There are multiple theories that say, nope, time travel is impossible. How could they possibly be human? And I'd like to get into that tidbit. But first, I want to say thank you so much, Cassidy. I'm glad you like it. And W. Decker, thank you as well. It says, what if the ETs are using us as a giant biological consciousness computer, or they are influencing us to create a super AI? This is actually a really interesting thing to mention. And we could almost bring this with the theory of the simulation theory, like the Matrix kind of deal. But
Mm-hmm.
that's, in my opinion, a whole show in itself, which, funny enough, Jimmy and I, we've done already. But this little detail, do you want to say anything to that,
Yeah,
Jimmy?
well, yeah, Decker. Yes and yes. Right. I mean, we when we talk about these subjects, it's very easy to point at one basic principle, and that is in physics and theoretical physics and quantum physics, it's all about probabilities. Everything is going to happen. Everything. No matter what it is, Everything is going to happen. Nothing is going to be left out. So when you present two ideas like this, the answer is yes and yes. And why not? Right? The idea of the Matrix and the study of, and there was another press release that just came out today too as well. Thank you, Renee. I didn't have time to cover it on the news earlier. But the idea of mapping the brain and figuring out how it works to turn around and recreate that either in a biological sense or understanding how to do it with hardware, right? That concept is just like the Matrix. The idea behind that, because the brain is perfect, right? We haven't, when AI gets to the level of the way our brain actually works, that's it. That's it. We're off to the races. So that concept would have to have been tackled by ET. And what a better incubator than planet Earth, right? Think about that. So, yeah, the answer is yes and yes. Now, does it scare me? Sure. Are we aware of it? That part doesn't matter. It doesn't change things. It doesn't change you and I right now in this conversation. Nothing changes, right? I'm still wearing a yellow shirt. You still can't wear your contacts today. It doesn't change anything, right? In a simulated AI reality, you're still going to change your contacts because you wouldn't know the difference. There is we're going to get to your next point here. But there's a very interesting thing that has happened lately. A few different companies have taken non-player characters, NPCs, in a simulation in a game where they've got AI running on the non-player character. Okay, and your character goes up to one of these and says, "Hey, this isn't real, right? This is a simulation." They go, "No, it's not. What are you talking about? This is my world." And now think about that. So if somebody came up to you today and said, "This is ET's version of a world, and we're just guests," right? We are in a simulation. What does it change? Changes nothing. It changes nothing. I'm still going to have trolls, right? It doesn't change that. I still have to eat. I still have to sleep. You know what I mean? What does it change? Changes nothing. And if it's really at that level, you wouldn't know the difference anyway. So what does it matter? So the answer is yes and yes, Decker, and it doesn't freak me out.
You bring up some interesting points, but one thing that needs to be addressed is that are we soon going to get to the point where we can get AI to design the first warp drive or how to open a traversable wormhole to get us from point A to point B when exploring space? Like maybe what some of these extraterrestrials are doing. Will it be done by a human or will it be created and thought out by AI, which maybe could take some kind of human robotic form, which we're getting significantly into with Sophia and Amica and Robonauts that NASA's been making for the last few years, by the way, which was new to me. But what I'm getting at here is the future evolution, the future discoveries that we make when it comes to physics, quantum entanglement, new inventions, warp drive. Will it be done by man or will it be done by AI?
Okay. Excellent question. And thank you, Mark. Thank you so much, Mark. He's happy to be here. Please keep up the excellent work. You keep it up, Mark. Thank you so much. Okay. Here's the deal. All you have to do, the human element in that is you present the task. All right. The reason why that is so important when it comes to AI, let me give you an example. It takes a lot of human brain power and energy to apply to research, whether it's with drugs and cures for cancer and it's complex. It takes a lot of work. And here it is. Brian Greene, who has been working on string theory his entire career, right? Recently, he said, I'm not going to see the results of string theory. It's going to take us at least another 50 years. Now, to get to the theory of everything, let's analyze that for a second, Cristina. He's talking about applying human brains, physicists, research physicists, post-grad, doctorates, all of that, working on this, and with the assistance of computers, of course, trying to get these algorithms complete, to get to the end, to get to the theory of everything. Now, you task AI with that, and you go, okay, AI, I need string theory done. Right? And AGI applies overnight the brain power of tens of thousands, if not millions, of physicists doing all of the research, all of the calculations, and you wake up in the morning, theory of everything is on your screen. And tested and retested and done. The application that would take scientists and physicists here who have to sleep, they have to eat, they have bills to pay, they have families to raise, they have everything else that's going on in their lives, including the task of the research for string theory. Now, apply that idea to a wormhole. Apply that task to time travel and have AI not give you what is time travel, have AI solve time travel, have AI solve how to make a wormhole, how to map out a wormhole, how to figure out where a wormhole is going to drop you off in the galaxy or on the other side of the universe, and how long that travel will take, how to keep it from collapsing, how to keep it open, how to find the energy sources. You have AI do that. If you have humans doing it, it would take forever and may never get completed. Right? So that is an application of AI. You swing that over to aliens or us from the future. We've already done it. Right? So yes, that is the answer, and that's the reason why AI, when used correctly, takes care of everything. The idea of some complex, crazy thing like, and I mentioned the cure for cancer, but it could be you can apply it to just anything that is extremely large in scope, and you have AI do it. Those server farms, all those servers that have AGI installed on it are doing the work of thousands of people, and they do it without sleep, they do it without complaining, and they do it really, 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 really fast, and they can complete these complex things that would literally take thousands of years of time for humans to complete, and they can do it in minutes, in hours, and certainly overnight while you're sleeping.
It's a yes. To say what you said, just yes is the right answer. Here we're looking at one of those server farms on screen if you're watching this on YouTube, and they are immense. The computing power is insane. And when we look at it from that point of view, and there have been significant studies done, there have been papers written already when AI is being applied to scientific research in finding um not equations, but dealing with like element compounds, seeing patterns. They're able to see it about 1,000 times faster than what a human could do in a lifetime. And also, it's benefiting us in the sense of just recently, there was a discovery that we have finally found Pluto's tomb in Pompeii that has been lost since his death. AI was able to decipher some of the ancient scrolls after the eruption of Vesuvius and was able to find Pluto's tomb. This, Pluto the philosopher, by the way.
Plato,
Yeah.
not
Oh
Pluto.
my gosh, I've been saying Pluto. Oh my
Pluto.
goodness, I'm so silly.
Listen.
Plato.
Pluto is a philosopher too, as well. Though he's a pretty smart little Disney character. But yeah,
No, but I
Plato's
meant
too.
Plato.
That
Oh
is
my
the
gosh.
perfect example of the application of AI, right? Where we've had those scrolls in our possession for a long time, and the complete no. They had like a third of it, but it's also burnt and you can't read it. All of the photo analysis and trying to get human eyeballs on it, we never got that done. AI, just like that, right? Just like that. And that's the correct application of it. Can it be misused? Absolutely, for sure. But the point that you just made, when you have the ability to do the work of an individual that would take a lifetime for them to do, and then you take that individual and you have 10,000 doctors, 10,000 physicists, all tasked to get something done that they will never, that would literally take thousands of years. AI can do it now. And that's the part. That's why AGI is so important. And ET, that without question, has got a grasp on that. And if we take it to the other side, if ET is actually what we perceive as ET is actually us from the future, then yeah, absolutely, they've got it all figured out, and they would have AI as a tool that we only dream about right now.
Now, the only question would be, why would humans want to visit the past? Now, this is a double-edged sword here, because some would say, "Oh, that's so silly, that's so dumb, go traverse the universe." But at the exact same time, today, we have an immense fascination with ancient Egypt, ancient Greece.
Yep.
We have archaeologists looking into all that because we want to understand how humanity lived and worked and did everything in the past, and how we have lost a lot of information. Today, in present day, we have a fascination with the past. Now, if we go with the theory that some, not all, of the UFOs that are being seen, or the maybe visitations that people are getting, that what they're seeing look very human, could potentially be humans from the future, they would say, "Oh, why are you visiting us now? That's so lame." And yet, you cannot kill that level of curiosity to want to understand what happened to your ancestors generations ago, to see how they lived, how they thought, if our mentality has changed in any way. And so this is something that I think is really interesting to contemplate, because if any of us were given that piece of technology, all of us would ask, what would we do with it? And maybe they are here to watch the rise of AI. How is it going to impact humanity? Are they going to attempt and change the timeline, for instance? Or are they just going to leave it just to see how it all pans out, in the same sense that people just want to see how the Great Pyramid of Giza was built? They just
That's right.
want to know. So could these advanced beings, maybe us, have that same train of thought when it comes to the evolution of AI?
Well, see, that's exactly it. You would capitalize on it. You know what you would do? It would be tourism. Where do you want to go? Okay, well, I kind of want to check out uh 2024, because man, It got really whack about that, right? And so there's that. Are you sure you wanted to 2024? Wouldn't you rather go visit the dinosaurs? Wouldn't you rather go to Antarctica when it was a city? Wouldn't you rather go see the pyramids get built? Right? It's tourism. It's not changing the past, but it's observing, just like we do now, today. That's what we do. We're tourists, and we love doing that. So, what that to me now, where would you go? That's the romantic side, not fall in love side, but I mean it. That's the romantic side to time travel, right? For everybody, man. If I could just go back to the past and see my mom and dad meet for the first time. If I could just go back to the past, and if I could just go, if I could, that's the romantic side of it. And we all think about it. Now, we think about it today in a modern sense. Philosophers and for thousands of years have talked about time travel. And Rip Van Winkle is a perfect example of this. How many kings and queens fell asleep for 100 years? And came back and wrote about that, and it was in their dream. That's part of it. Leonardo da Vinci discussed this at length. So where would I go? What would I do with this technology? I would do what ET is doing, if it, or us in the future. Absolutely. You can go to the future quite easily. Going back to the past is a whole nother thing. So it would be a luxury for people with the means and the ways to go back and visit the past. But that's what it would be. I mean, what would I go and do? I think that the pyramids and their construction in Egypt would be very high on the list. Would I go? Would I want to see religious events or something like that? And the problem with that, and the reason why I go, the dates are wrong, right? What if you showed up for the crucifixion and it never happened, and you wasted your money, right? That type of tourism. But the pyramids of Egypt are there. We can see them, so we know. But you want to be there on the right date, right? What if you went back? Okay, see, here's the thing, and why 2024? I think about this way too much. Right now, history shows us, the books and our education system, 2650, 2700 BC was the construction of the Great Pyramid, Khafre and Khufu, Menkaure about the same time too as well. And so you go back, you lay down the money, you lay down your credit card, and you go back to 2700 BC, and they're already there. Right? What? I need to change the date. Now we're in guesswork time. Right? That's the other. What are the dates? That's why we have so much visitation here. The dates are funky, right? So why would it's 2024? This wasn't the year. We got to go further back, or we need to go to 2030, not 2024. Absolutely, you have to look at it that way. The dinosaurs. Would you want to see how the dinosaurs looked and roamed the earth? That's why Jurassic Park was so bleeping cool, right? Would you go and visit the dinosaurs?
Heck yeah.
And so would ET, right? Stone Age man, 100,000 years ago, Neanderthal. Wouldn't you like to say? I would. And so would ET. And that's the comments throughout history about stuff in the sky and visitors and things happening and balls of light and Ezekiel's wheel. Take your pick. That's all in deep history. What if it's just tourism from the future?
That'd be some real fancy tourism. And we think cruises are cool. Time travel, a solid 10 out of 10. And Android, I want to say thank you for that. It says possible future AI examples, Flatwoods monster, and Pascagoula beings. That's
Yep.
interesting. And
Both
Wheezy, thank you so
both
much for that
yeses.
as well. Yep.
What was
Yes.
the last one? I was yapping.
Oh, it just says thank you. Thank you for that.
Oh, Louise, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, there was a great, I can't think of the name of it. Somebody will pop it up in the chat. There was a movie, came out about 10 years ago, about this subject, right? So, set in the future, but time travel tourism. Okay. And they were going back, and they had it all set up. So, going back to the time of the dinosaurs, and they had like this walkway built because their time, it's a company, tourism company. They had a walkway built going through this swamp, and you would go back and walk through the swamp and on this thing, and you couldn't leave anything behind, right? Everything that you brought with you, because you don't want to have a paradox, right? You don't want to alter the future. And what does somebody do? Drops a can of Coke, right? Something like that. Just something happens, and then they go back after their time travel thing, and they go back, and through all of history, that can of Coke or whatever was dropped into the swamp, they arrive in the future, and the future's all messed up because they went through all these ripples and paradoxes because of that thing. And in the city that they left, which was green and lush and beautiful and everything, and they go back, it's all burnt down. It's like, dude, now we got to go back and get that can of Coke. Right? We've got to reset things. So wouldn't that apply to ET today? Think about this for a second. Why there isn't any interference if they're coming from the future, right? They're not killing anybody. It's us. Why would they come back and shoot at us? Well, some might, but they're not coming back here and altering. They could be studying. They could be coming back for information, like the now famous case of John Teeter, and his mission in time travel, which was to get to the software of a computer, an IBM computer from the 70s, because it altered things in the future, and they needed to get this code and get that fixed. Well, that yes, but we don't see this kind of interference with time travel with people from our future for those very reasons. I think it explains a lot, Cristina.
Well, I also think that the multiverse theory might answer that because maybe each action creates a new, like, offshoot universe. That is I think that's a pretty good theory to get around the grandfather paradox, which people always bring up when mentioning time travel. So when we consider this multiverse theory, and now science is saying, math is saying that we have multiverses, quantum entanglement is helping us kind of solidify that theory. When we consider that, I think it makes time travel more plausible. Now, we can have this thought of, well, if there's this constant time travel with all these different sentient beings across the multiverse, having abilities to create time travel machines, that means there would be an infinite amount of multiverses. And then the human brain keyword, would say, what's the point? What's the purpose? And just because we humans do not understand it doesn't mean that it does not have a purpose behind it.
Well, okay. Yes, and the paradox part of this is because we try to understand this with our limited scope of knowledge in this subject, because we don't fully understand it. So we're always thinking of a linear situation. So, Christina, you go back in time, you go see yourself in the second grade when you failed a test and they held you back for 2 years. So you go back, can you, as older Christina, talk to yourself? What would happen there? I don't think nature would allow that to happen. Okay. So you could be an observer, but you wouldn't be seen. Do you follow what I'm saying? Now, I think this is my take. I've written and spoken about this a lot. To get rid of the paradox, to prevent something like that happening, I think nature, the war. When I say nature, I'm just saying just everything would have to prevent that from happening. So when you go back, automatically, when you go back, you are not going to where you exist. You can't do that. If you're going to be there in the physical, you can't do that. One little thing, I've said it so many times that if I could go back in time, what would I do? I would go into my bedroom when I'm 14 years old, and I would take a cassette tape of Randy Rhoads or Van Halen, and I'd put it on my nightstand, right? Because now I change the world. But if that happens, then I'm not able to put that cassette tape on the thing because there's no reason for me to put the cassette tape there. And I would have gone on a different path. And I wouldn't have done this, and I wouldn't have done this, and I wouldn't have been in the position in the future of myself to turn around and go back. That's a huge paradox. So I just don't think that it would be possible to do something like that because it alters everything on this timeline. I think nature would prevent that from happening. So you go back in time, you're not interacting or doing anything in the timeline that you left. You follow me? Not from where you left. When you go back, that world, you are now you're in the next world over, of which physics tells us it's infinite, right? So you go over there and you can go and mess around, but you're not going to change the other one. Now, how do you get back? Right? Okay, so what happens in the timeline? This is a question for you. So you and I jump in our time machine, we go back. We're on another timeline. Where are we? Do we just disappear? And if we just disappear in that timeline, doesn't that alter everything that is continuing over there? Right? Your parents freak out. You're lost. You've got police. You know what I mean? We've got search patrols out, and it alters the future because we left. Or is there another version of us? Right? We continue, but we move over to another timeline. You see what I'm saying? There's got to be ways to have this fixed because time travel's real. It's real. Their nature cannot allow the whole universe would implode. There's a natural order of things that makes sure that paradox. What's plural of paradox?
Paradoxes. I feel
Or is it just and there has to be a way to make sure that which is a big problem is taken care of.
Well, here's another thing to this, because time in travel must also be time in space. So it is space-time travel because Earth is not where it was in the galaxy or universe 1,000 years ago or even a second ago. So it must travel in space and time. And to my understanding, Doctor Who has it all figured out with the TARDIS. At least with the TARDIS, of course, there. But when we're talking about time travel, that is something that we have to consider, and that is the position of where we want to go in what time. And maybe, just maybe, AI could fill in those questions, create that perfect equation in order for you to properly time travel. Because there have been theories and even movies that have considered this possibility where you are traveling through time and space. You have a time travel machine and you're like, okay, take me here at this time, and they end up in the middle of space and they die because the planet Earth, or whatever planet they want to go to, was not there in that pinpoint location 1,000 years ago, 10 years ago, a few minutes ago. And so this is where it gets even more complex. But if we consider these extraterrestrials to be thousands, if not millions of years older than humanity, and are able to better understand AI and how to program it properly, maybe they have already found that issue that us humans have not yet.
You've got to land. You've got to make sure that your feet land where you need them to land. Now, of course, you want to be on planet Earth. You don't want to be stuck out in space. But even probably just as bad is you also don't want to be dropped off in the middle of the ocean. Splash.
Valid.
Right? That's the other issue. And now I'm going to stay on this for a second. John Teeter addressed this, and he addressed this like nobody else has ever talked about this before. And I've repeated it and brought this up. And for some reason, it just doesn't catch on with people. All right. But this is how John Teeter addressed it: a gravity clock. Okay. And the gravity clock is very similar to what you're suggesting here with AI. A gravity clock measures where you are, your geolocation, and the amount of gravity that is pulling on you at that moment. So when you go forward or backward in time, you go back to that exact spot. Right? Now think about that. So you have to calculate what the Earth. Okay, here's my alien hacky sack. Right? So the Earth is rotating, and it's also rotating crooked. The equator is tilted. Right? And we have a precession going on, and we have the 24-hour cycle. Forget about the moon. So we've got that going on. At the same time, this is going on. We all know we're going around the sun. We know this. Okay. You have to know exactly where the Earth is going to be at that moment while our Milky Way is moving through the universe. It's not static. It's not still. And our star system is not static. So all of this is moving at the same time. That's where AI comes into play, because you would have to know exactly where Earth is going to be in relation to space and time. Not specifically your position on the Earth, for sure, right? Very important. But where is Earth? Where is it? So all of this, and this is what John Teeter addressed. And it's never the romantic side of time travel is there. It's there. The paradox issues were written about in the 1920s and 1930s in magazines. And so these magazines, these science fiction magazines, and they would have these stories, and time travel would come up. And the debates over that's where the grandfather paradox came from. This isn't a modern thing. It's been discussed for almost 100 years in society. And they got really deep into this. The same issues that you and I are talking about right now were talked about in 1935. Right. And so uh, all of that would have to be overcome. The other part is this. All right. Traveling to the future is easy, simple. We're doing it right now. That's the first thing. Right now, right now. We are always moving forward in time. Okay. But traveling to the deep future, to the far future, is simple. It's easy. All you got to do is go fast. That's it. There's nothing else, nothing. There's no secret to it. How fast can you go? How long are you going to be gone? When do you make your U-turn and come back to Earth? Depending on how fast you go and how long you're gone, your return trip pushes you further into the future. That's easy. So the question is, this is the big question in the room. So we go and do that. And you and I, we return and we're 500 years in the future. And we step off of our starship, we go up and we're greeted. And we're like, okay, cool. Listen, we got to get back to 2024. You figured that out, right? Nope. You're stuck. Or do they say, yes, but it's not what you think it is? And this and this and this are the problems there. And then, boom, we have Rendlesham Forest happen. Could that be the play? So, yeah, traveling to the future, Einstein has clearly presented to us that is easy. It's a no-brainer. How fast can you go? How long are you going to be gone? And when are you coming back? That's it. It's really that simple.
Those are some really brilliant points. And you're right, Einstein has been theorizing this for over 100 years or so. And a little bit earlier, I mentioned Doctor Who. And actually, for such a vintage show, which first aired back in 1963, they got it right because this TARDIS stands for time and relative dimensions in space. Now, bringing this into present day, looking at future humans as of now, we simply cannot address it without mentioning Neuralink created by Elon Musk. Because for me, it kind of gives me like Peter Wayland vibes from the Aliens and the Prometheus franchise, and like the Wayland Corporation and artificial people and spaceships to new worlds. So I'm going to share my screen here merely as a visual aid, getting into Neuralink, because it seems as if we cannot run away from this. People are worried about this now. They're saying, no, I don't want that chip in my brain. But I think in the next 20, 30 years, it'll be as simple as a vaccine. Be like, all right, let's do it. Let's go for it. And this, for right now, what Elon Musk was going for, and he's been working on this for the last few years, he had mentioned that this is for people that are dealing with paralysis or that don't have the limbs in order to have things move in their day-to-day life. And there's already been tests done, first on animals and already on humans. We got the report, a little under a month ago or so, and correct me if I'm wrong, but rather recently, where we already had our first human test subjects. And so far, the operation has been going smoothly, and people are able to manipulate things with their mind, not like telekinesis per se, but dealing with electronics. And at some point, we might be able to do this with a totally different, separate object, maybe a robot, to where when we already begin to travel across Mars, instead of leaving our little oxygen habitat with everything that we need, we can send our quote brain and a robot or a probe to do the exploration and excavation it needs to do without harming the human body. Because humans, right now, without all this cybernetics and being cyborgs, we're very weak. And it's disappointing that we do not have an exoskeleton. You get a paper cut and you start bleeding. Like, what is the deal with that? But, and while I'm
Well, disease
smoking a little
and disease, and you have to eat, you have to sleep, you have to shower, you have to do all of those things that are the limitations of the human body. And so, if we take this a step further, not only with Neuralink, but what Neuralink can be is if you're ET, no, let's change it. If you are Cristina Gomez and you want to go to Mars or Andromeda, and the limitations with that, but the option, which is us right now, what we would do, you would have an avatar of you that would
that's already
see
happening.
that right, that would see, that could walk, that could talk, that could pick up, that could do everything. You are here living the experience, but you don't have to sleep, eat, get sick, right? Disease, any of that. What if you're attacked by some alien Tyrannosaurus Rex or what have you? Hit by an asteroid in the spaceship flying to that planet. No, you are safe and sound here on Earth. Why wouldn't us from the future do the same exact thing? Where are all the time travelers? Oh man, they're probably right here. They're not what we think they are. We don't understand who us could be and what that technology would be used for in the future. Where if you could go back to the past, your body is still in the future, but your android is here doing the observation and taking all of the risk. That's what Neuralink presents, and the ability to do something like that. The Neuralink and the ideas, the human brain interface and the communication between that is the very tip of the iceberg. And taking it to the next level would allow all of this to be possible.
These are great points and great musing points as well, because at this moment, it's still in the categories of theoretical and imaginative. But if scientists do not have an imagination, we wouldn't get where we are today, especially looking at Neuralink, especially when we look at prosthetics and now that are having more robotic qualities to them. At some point, and it's already happening right in front of us, but at some point, it'll be so common with people to have certain adaptations or augmentations with technology, which leads me to one of the very first questions that I had at the very beginning of the show. Will AI and these augmentations lead us to become inhuman, extinct, or godlike? Because we can also bring in the category here when looking at technology and integrating with technology. Can it help us to become immortals, to live for thousands, millions of years? Where will our consciousness go? Will it be uploaded to a cloud, or is it just going to have all of our qualities in something that, like for instance, in a robot that just won't disintegrate at the same level a human might? When we consider these things, does it take away humanity? Does it add a level to it? And if you're watching this show and enjoying it, hit that like button right down below. We have 272 people watching this live. Let's get the 200 likes right here, right now, if and only if you're enjoying the show. Jimmy, if you were given the opportunity, would you upload your consciousness to a cloud? Or do you think that's even possible to upload a consciousness? Or are we just merely uploading personality traits and memories more so than a consciousness?
Yeah, yeah. Well, how do we know that we aren't? That's the thing. And if You have to. This is the disturbing part. I would think. Done so much research into this. I've spent way too much time thinking about it. If you upload yourself onto a hard drive, what do you do with this? Does this right? Do you suicide yourself? You can't have two of you running at the same time, right? Two of your content presented with the same issues, the same questions, the same thing. Is that possible? And taking it a step further, I mean, what happens? So now let's say your consciousness, your soul is uploadable. Okay? That's a big assumption. But let's say that that's possible. And while this download upload transition is going on to the hard drive, what happens to your mind as your soul slowly gets removed? And at what point does your soul overtake, right? You get to 51% on the hard drive and 49% here, right? And do you start slowing? What happens? And that transition, because this potentially could two souls exist at the same time from the same person? I would say no. It's too unique. I think that it would have to be when those memories and everything else and all the ones, the easy stuff, right? The data is downloaded and your soul is able to, and your consciousness and what makes you is going along with it. It will tip. And once it goes over half, what goes on? What are you thinking as this disappears? And then at the same time, you're on the hard drive going, okay, all right, it's coming together. It's coming together. I'm feeling more like me. I'm feeling more like me. And then the other you is going through the same experience of being drained. These are deep, deep philosophical issues that need to be addressed. The human brain interface and Neuralink and what DARPA is working on, and every other research corporation in the world and universities are all working on the human brain computer interface and getting that communication done. There are some that have said dreams have been downloaded and uploaded, right? That this has actually happened. This is not future. This is like in the now. So these are things that we need to tackle and address and seriously think about. Is it? Are you messing with Mother Nature if you start copying and pasting souls? Right? Think about that for a second. That's a deep burning existential question. I mean, that's a problem. That's a you have existential and its definition. That is the definition of existential right there. That is something that is going to have an effect on you and the world that you cannot see, touch, or feel, and you don't know the outcome. Yeah, we need to think about it now.
What a great way to end today's show. That was so philosophical, Jimmy. I think it's going to leave people pondering those questions for the rest of the day. Maybe, you know what, maybe even their entire lives. Jimmy, thank you so much for being on the show today. Who do you have on to Fade to Black?
Tonight, Dr. Robert Zubrin is with us talking about what we're talking about now, right? Going to Mars, living on Mars. And he has been waving this flag, the Planetary Society, for a couple of decades and longer than that. And nobody knows more about this subject than Robert Zubrin. I've interviewed him many times over the years. He's back with us tonight. Mars is on the discussion everywhere, right? That's it. So that's what we're going to do tonight on Fade to Black. I'll see everybody. Cristina, amazing show. Thank you so much. You really got me thinking.
Thank you. And Jimmy also got me thinking, hopefully, got you thinking as well. The great thing about this show in particular is that it was very conversational. Yes, we had some points, but a lot of it was coming from weeks, years, maybe even decades of research looking into this stuff. And sometimes when you're just thinking in that moment, it does add another flavor to these kinds of conversations because here we're making a beautiful curry dish. If you enjoyed the show, hit that like button right down below. And tomorrow is going to be Strangest News of the Week. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell as I do several shows right here every single week. That is it for today. I will see you tomorrow. Be safe and remember, keep your eyes on the skies. If you enjoy the strange and the mysterious, UFOs, the paranormal, and cryptids, this channel is for you. So make sure to subscribe as I do 3 videos right here every single week and hit that notification bell so you do not miss any of the bonus content I post right here.